Hello, I'm Dr. Rebecca Boudreau, President and CEO of Oberon Fuels, and you're watching Taking Stock.
But yeah, look, the intraday
2 minutes ago here into the close. Don't call it a comeback, but believe it or not, folks, the major market indexes at this hour with less than 2 minutes to go are expected to be in positive territory. The Einstein of Wall Street himself, Peter Tuchman, kicks us off on the broadcast. What a reversal as of 3:15, 3:20. What did you see in the tape today?
You know what? Look, we've been for sale all afternoon. I think earlier we had a nice technical reversal early on in the day because, look, this morning it looked like we were going to sell off and break down below all levels. We opened down 65 handles on the SPY. We went down as much as 90. And so it felt like that the story was going to keep unfolding in a negative way. And then but we did have a technical reversal. As you saw earlier, around 11-ish, we started to reverse back. And the market was making, we had gotten down only 20 or 30 handles. And so people were trying to get a handle on it. There's been a bid in the market. As you've noticed, every day that we've had these big days, we talked about it earlier, we've had intraday reversals as much as 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So there is a bid in the market. It's fresh money coming in March. I'm not sure people, were really onto this story that how long this was going to last. But basically, when you see a tweet or however it was disseminated by the president saying the war is over, that's like let's run by the market, and they did. They bought it in this aggressive tranches. We watched it go up. We went from basically negative 30 handles all the way up to up 60 handles. Spectacular reversal.
Yeah, trough to peak, about a 2.5% swing total in the S&P 500.
It rolled over, but it ended up closing. It'll close at the highs of the day, basically.
Peter Tuchman, thank you for being here. Time for the bell. More Taking Stock after this. And there you have it, Gloria Steinem along with the one and only Paris Hilton, both down here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange with 11:11 Media in honor of International Women's Day. We'll have a few representatives from that exciting partnership join us here in just a bit. Live on Taking Stock, your final tale of the tape on this Monday, March 9th, the S&P 500. An incredible reversal here for the indices in the 3 o'clock hour. The S&P up 0.8%, the Dow up 0.5%, the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index up about 0.5%, and the small caps come surging back up 1.1%. On this Monday, let's bring in Chris Versace, CIO at Tematica Research, Managing Director of the Street Pro Portfolio. We did our best to prepare one type of show. We kind of had to throw it all out around 3:15. What did you see today?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for getting so many people here for me today at the
Yes,
New York
it's all
Stock
for
Exchange.
you.
So nice
You
of
think
you.
it's for Paris Hilton? No, it's for Chris Versace.
Yeah, for me.
Of course.
Me.
Yeah.
But no, I kid. So you are right. This was a very different market at the close. I believe in the last 30, 40 minutes, President Trump said we are mostly complete with the war with Iran. But then again, JD, this is the guy who said inflation has been beaten and the economy is robust. I think we have to be a little careful, follow the data like I always like to say. Maybe we'll see something positive, but I think there could be another shoe to drop in the coming days.
Yeah, this was reported by Weijia Jiang at CBS News, had a phone call with the president. The way he's been doing messaging is interesting. He's doing all these one-on-one phone calls with outlets as opposed to these big press conferences, but the line is, quote, "I think the war is very complete pretty much." He goes on to say we are very far, in his words, ahead of the 4 to 5 week expected timeline.
So that's actually pretty interesting because there were reports on Politico last week that the war, they were preparing for up to 100 days, possibly even September. So 4 to 5 weeks, you know what? I'd like to be hopeful. I really would. But I think when we see the hardliners in Iran, I think this could be a little more protracted is the word. And as written at the Street Pro, and I've shared with you in the past, when we see things like this, duration, folks, duration is the word of the day, the word of the event. The longer this goes on, the greater the disruption, the higher gas prices are, the higher oil prices are, the more consumers are going to feel the pinch. And I think that's where we need to be concerned, JD, with the consumers.
Yeah, we do have West Texas and Brent. I mean, they came in quite a bit off their elevated levels from earlier in the day. We came into this morning. They were both priced well above $100 a barrel. How would you characterize the supply shock that we saw in oil, at least coming into this morning's session, Chris?
Well, the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. right? Not a lot of ships are getting through. My understanding is that other oil producers are throttling back production because they have nowhere to put the oil. So the question is going to become, how long does this go on for? Again, back to that word, duration. The longer it goes on, the more likely gas prices will be elevated, but not just gas, diesel, right? Jet fuel. There are going to be reverberations for this throughout different parts of the economy. And if you think about, the consumer, it's not just gas prices, because higher diesel prices will flow through raising prices for other things.
You mentioned jet fuel. We had quite the reversal in airline stocks. They basically all had been down until we hit that 320 window and all surging into positive territory. What does elevated oil overall mean for the Fed's next move? Fed's been kind of quiet. I mean, it has not been the foremost thing driving price action. Now they're in their quiet period. On top of everything else, Chris, we have an FOMC meeting coming up very soon.
Yes, we do. And I think that the Fed's going to be in a rock and a hard place. You saw that February employment report last week where we shed 92,000 jobs, far more than people were looking for, first off. We've seen inflation ticking up. We have a CPI report coming, and odds are we could see future inflation the next couple of months, call it March, call it maybe even April, depending on the duration of all of this, could tick higher. That's going to put them, like I said, on a rock and a hard place.
I'm trying to get a sense on what the dollar exactly did into the close. It
probably fell.
The dollar did fall a little bit. It's down to 98.87 overall. What do you make of the way that the dollar has been moving relative to oil since the attacks in the Middle East started?
Well, you have to remember that oil is largely traded in dollars, so it's not really a surprise that as oil has moved up, the dollar is going to move up. Now that oil has backed off, the dollar has backed off a little bit too.
Before I let you go, Oracle set to report after the bell tomorrow. Data center pullback sparking fresh concerns, or how are you thinking about it?
I want to see what they have to say really on two fronts, right? Do they raise their capital spending level like all the other hyperscalers have? Second, what's the RPO, or the remaining performance obligations number? Does it tick higher? But I'm also going to give a quick plug. There's another company reporting after the close, Suro Capital. A nice way to play OpenAI and a few other privately traded companies. I think that they're going to deliver a really good quarter.
Chris Versace, the CIO at Tematica Research, managing director of the Street Pro portfolio, good friend of mine, good friend of ours here on the show. Thanks for being here to kick off the broadcast.
Anytime, my friend.
I'm glad I had you here to help me make sense of the insanity over the last hour in the market.
Well, again, thank you for getting the crowd.
Oh, yeah, you got it. Skylar, take your mic. Howie, you and I will come this way. And thank you as well for joining us off the top. It was nice to have you. Top analyst calls here to kick off this week here on Wall Street. First up, Citi reiterating NVIDIA as a buy, calling it a core holding on both agentic as well as physical AI. Shares up for NVIDIA today, but down about 5% or so far here year to date. Next up, Wells Fargo downgrading Netflix to equal weight, saying they'll need to keep investing in order to grow, especially needed to rebound after the whole Warner Brothers Discovery saga is officially out of the picture for Netflix. Shares down today, but up about 20% over the last month. Finally, Wolf downgrading Starbucks to pure perform. They write the beans are just hitting the grinder in a multi-year turnaround. In other words, the turnaround's kind of taking a bit longer than expected. Relatively flat on the day, but shares up for Starbucks about 17% so far here in 2026. Look at two New York Stock Exchange listed notables. We'll start with Oracle. Like Chris Versace and I were just breaking down, they are set to report after the bell tomorrow. Deutsche Bank reiterating Oracle as a buy, slashing its price target from 375 down to 300. It is down about 60% off its high of a few months ago. They're contending with leadership changes. Shares falling about 9/10 on the day. And Howie, let's pivot around this way. We'll take a look at shares of LYV. This is, of course, Live Nation having a strong session here on Wall Street today after reaching a settlement with the DOJ in its ongoing antitrust lawsuit, which now removes the threat of Live Nation essentially being broken up. Had a nice gap up in shares today, up 16% so far here in 2026. The New York Stock Exchange's very own Ashley Mastronardi sat down with Georgie Dickens of Women in Leadership Global to discuss the significance of today, International Women's Day. Take a look.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. International Women's Day is this Sunday, March 8th. And this year's theme, Give to Gain, is fitting for our next guest. Georgie Dickens is the CEO of Women in Leadership Global, and she's here with us to talk about the meaning behind the day and how this year's theme is reflected in her own work. Georgie, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Ashley.
So what is the mission of Women in Leadership Global?
Our mission is to advance the face of leadership. It's a private membership network where it is about bringing together exceptional leaders from financial services. And it is for those women who want to elevate their game. They want to increase or amplify their impact and influence in the world, but who are also seeking community. No one's an island, and it's really valuable to have that peer network to lean into for advice, for insight, for information, and to give you that honest perspective. So advancing the face of leadership was our mission, and we get to see so many great examples of women now who are owning their voice more and who are taking on those larger roles within their organizations.
How does the organization work? Do you have meetups? Is there a network somewhere? Are you connected on social media?
Yeah, we run transformational programs. So everyone who's part of the network joins a 6-month program, and we teach the mindsets, the behaviors, the skills, the tools in order that they can as I said, elevate their game. But the programs are also, it's about bringing together, as I said, this trusted community, because all the women in the network, they've got years and years of experience and advice and lessons learned. So it's a group of people you can go to be like, I'm experiencing this within my organization. How would you deal with that? So leveraging the community is such a powerful, well, it's a force multiplier when you leverage it.
And this year's International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain. What does that mean to you personally, and how is that reflected in your work?
I love the theme this year, and I think the Give to Gain, it should be one that we all practice and exercise every day. And I think it's those small acts which are also gifts, whether it's giving someone as leaders, giving someone a piece of advice, giving feedback, giving someone a piece of a platform for visibility. You never know when those small acts, they really can make a transformational difference. So the Gift to Gain, it feels a very a powerful one that we can all, have intention around every day. And it doesn't need to be a big direct debit of time. I said it's those small acts that really can make a difference.
And we're in a period of intense global volatility, markets, geopolitics, AI disruption. How are women leaders that you're working with navigating this moment?
Yeah, I think one of the key things is being really intentional about creating time to think. There is so much noise coming at them from, well, not just female leaders, but leaders in general from every angle. And there is so much, there are huge demands on their time. So creating that time to think is critical, because that's where that ideation comes. That's where you're able to connect the dots. That's where you're able to synthesize information and really, give thought to what is the best strategy going forward. Given the fact there are so many demands on your time, being intentional and carving out that time and prioritizing and fiercely protecting it is critical. And then I think the second thing is for female leaders, and as generally leaders, is about surrounding yourself with an awesome leadership team. You can't be an expert on every aspect of the business, as you shared, geopolitical, AI, private, public markets. There is so much that that leaders are having to learn and navigate. Hence, having your team who are the experts, empowering them, trusting them, and then getting out of the way so you can do what you're uniquely positioned to do.
And when you say creating time to think, what do you mean by that? Are people so busy now that you feel like they need to actually carve out time to recharge and connect with themselves?
Connect with themselves, but also if they're thinking about business strategy, their vision, if they're thinking about their execution plan. Many leaders live in a world of back-to-back meetings, and they could be drinking out of the proverbial fire hose every day. And therefore carving out that time, that's dedicated space to think about their own personal strategy. Where do I want to be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? What are my fuel sources, and how am I, making sure I'm investing in those? That stuff is all so critical, and yet I don't think people typically find themselves with time. So therefore, that actively creating it is a game changer.
Thank you, Georgie Dickens, CEO and founder of Women in Leadership Global, for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you, Ashley.
So good to see you again.
Welcome back to the show. You're watching Taking Stock live from the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Rebecca Groen joins us now. She is the Director of Impact at 1111 Media. She and her colleagues just got off the podium here, ringing the closing bell at the big board. Great to have you here, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Let's talk all about the strategic significance. Yeah. Two powerhouses, Paris Hilton, Gloria Steinem, joining forces right here at the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
What stands out about this? What do you most want people to know?
Well, I think to start, women only first entered this trading room floor in 1967. And so not, in Gloria Steinem's generation, women started this work here. And so for us to be here today, to be focused on how we are investing in capital, how we're supporting women-owned small businesses is really monumental, and we're so honored that Gloria joined Paris.
Are you willing to give us a bit of an introduction to the genesis of 1111? What's it all about? And talk to me about some of your top priorities here in 2026.
Yeah, so 1111 Media is Paris Hilton's media company, and 1111 Media Impact is the nonprofit that's associated with the media company. And so we work to bring Paris's lived experience to light and turn pain into purpose for the causes that Paris cares about most.
Oh, I'm sorry, please, go ahead.
No, and so that's from everything from troubled teen industry to ADHD to supporting women-owned small business.
So it sounds like it's policy, it's philanthropy. What more do you most want people to know about not just what the work is, but the spirit of it and the motivations, why this is important both to Paris Hilton, but everyone else who's a part of the 1111 family as well?
Yeah, from the origins of Paris, our mission is really to just leave a sparkle everywhere she goes. And so we focus on strategic philanthropy, advocacy, and storytelling. And really, the mix of all three of those is what leads to our success.
And the Los Angeles region wildfires, I know, is something that you all have been facing head on. Break down the back in business pilot results from those wildfires. What should people know?
So we were in Los Angeles when the fires hit, and women-owned small businesses were uniquely facing big impacts with the disaster. And so Paris did a $1 million grant program with GoFundMe.org, and the success really speaks for itself. We provided $25,000 to 50 women-owned small businesses. 90% of those businesses today are thriving, and 80% of them are moms. And so our money didn't just impact one female entrepreneur, it impacted businesses, it impacted their employees and their families.
Yeah, what is the latest for kind of from those communities impacted? And I wonder the feedback that they are giving you, because we all remember the national headlines, but perhaps for some people it's been far too long since they really heard updates from the ground and really the community and the individuals who are most impacted.
Yeah, the headlines fade, but the recovery is still there. And so we're really proud that we're still continuing to support these women-owned businesses. We're continuing to provide capital. We're supporting them as a business ourselves and Paris personally. And we're also really telling their story, which I think is critically important so that we can continue to keep that headline and to keep them in the media. We're coming out with a new show today called Back in Business, which is a YouTube series that highlights 6 amazingly resilient small businesses. And we hope that it inspires and shows them that, recovery is possible and that you can turn your pain into purpose.
Rebecca, if people want to learn more about the YouTube series or the broader work of the impact and philanthropy, where can they go to find out more?
The YouTube series is on YouTube, and our grant program that's launching today is hosted on GoFundMe.
All right, Rebecca Groen, Director of Impact at 1111 Media. It is great to have you. Congratulations on all the incredible success, and thanks for visiting us down here at the Stock Exchange.
Thank you.
Nice to have
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock coming up after this. Welcome back to the show. Amanda Brown-Learman joins us now. She is the executive director at GoFundMe.org right here at the FinTech TV booth on the trading floor of the NYSE. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's so fun to be with just women supporting women. So.
And of course, for this day, that's ultimately
Yes.
what we are celebrating. Now, we obviously just had an interview in the last block with Rebecca all about this.
Yeah.
From your positioning on this conversation, how does the partnership with 1111 bypass the traditional hurdles specifically for disaster relief?
Great question. So GoFundMe.org was actually launched in 2017 with the mission to meet the needs of individuals and communities that have been impacted. And we do a lot of mobilization in the response just to raise a bunch of money and get it out as quickly as possible. And we had a great lesson last year when we actually mobilized in response to the LA wildfires, working with Paris Hilton and 1111 Media. She was actually a very early supporter of all of the individual relief granting that we did. And we at GoFundMe.org set this kind of like ambitious goal that, to be honest, we weren't totally sure we would be able to meet, but wanted to make sure that we got all of the money out as quickly as possible. We raised nearly $9 million and know how important fast cash is to people. And so when we were scheming and even dreaming about how to do that in a thoughtful, strategic way, we wanted to be able to support women. We wanted to be able to support the women-owned businesses that are the heartbeat of so many of these communities, just the anchors of like where people go and come together and give people a little bit of hope about that community being able to come back. And so we launched this idea to go support women businesses, found another partner with the Women's Business Center in Pasadena who helped us identify 50 women. And we're really excited about what we learned then to be able to now launch this nationwide fund and take it, scale it even more.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Pasadena Women's Business. Why is it so important to have those partnerships with local entities at the community level?
Yeah, definitely. They know what's best, right? Like, we're sitting in our offices, not necessarily in the heat of like wherever that disaster has taken place. And so we want to be deferential to the needs of that community. They are the experts. They are the ones that should be, deciding where the resources go. They know much better than we would ever know. And so empowering them to then empower their own community members, like that's such a key to the success. And I think so critical. And one of the things that just makes our sort of philosophy and approach really different. Like, we don't want to be super prescriptive about how the money is used, right? Like, if you have gone through something, I want you to be able to make the decisions about how that money should be used for your household, for your community, for your business. And the same is true here. We want to empower people, help them restore their own dignity in some of these, like, the darkest moments of their life. And so this partnership with them was just so critical to helping us find 50 incredible women and to be able to support their businesses.
I have less than a minute left, but GoFundMe, without a doubt, itself is a household name. But how does GoFundMe infrastructure ensure that all these donations are effectively deployed?
Yeah, so our goal is to get fast cash out to people, and we are able to do that in a low cost and just super effective manner because of the generous support that the business gives to GoFundMe.org. So GoFundMe.inc supports our operations and makes an annual contribution, and because of that support, we are able to make sure that every dollar that comes into one of our funds is a dollar out to the people who need it.
Amanda Brown-Learman, Executive Director at GoFundMe.org. Congratulations on all the success. Thanks for joining us here at the big board.
To all of us, so thank you.
Of course. All right, don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock after this. Welcome back. Time for a few fintech, crypto, and artificial intelligence related headlines for your Monday afternoon. First up at this hour, despite the stunning, and I do mean pretty stunning, reversal for equities today, crypto majors had been in positive territory, and they actually stayed that way through the close of the trading day here on Wall Street. Bitcoin up 4.6% at this hour, ETH up 4.8%, Solana up about 1%. Next up, the Wall Street Journal reporting prediction market rivals Polymarket and Kalshi are both exploring new funding rounds at around $20 billion valuations, doubling each of their most recent raises. This as trading volumes surge and scrutiny from lawmakers on Capitol Hill continue to intensify, the state level as well. Finally, Florida lawmakers approving the first state-level regulatory framework for stablecoins in the U.S. at the end of last week, and in doing so, setting the rules for issuers and aligning with federal guidelines as Washington continues to debate broader crypto market structure. Money 2020's very own Scarlett Sieber is now back with a new edition of Hindsight 2020, where she breaks down what happened in the world of finance on this day in history. Take a look.
I'm Scarlett Sieber from Money 2020, and this is Hindsight 2020, where history's worst market days make a surprising amount of sense, in hindsight, of course. If you've ever bought something at rock bottom prices and bragged for years, and yes, Brad, you know who you are, congratulations, you and March 9th, 2009 have a lot in common. So let's go back in our time machine, about 17 years. We're going back to March 9th, 2009, the exact day the S&P 500 hit its great financial crisis low. The moment the market collectively said, enough, enough, we get it. At the time, banks imploding, jobs disappearing, credit frozen, CNBC sounding like it was narrating the end of civilization as we know it. It was a financially gloomy with a 90% chance of panic vibe. But then the plot twist. March 9th turned into the ultimate buy the dip before buy the dip became a meme. From that point, the S&P launched a decade-long bull run, tech exploded, cloud became the default, mobile and payments modernized, and fintech went from niche to mainstream. If you've invested $1,000 that day, let's just say your future self would be sending you a thank you note, maybe a fruit basket or two. The takeaway here, markets bottom before the world feels safe. Optimism returns before the headlines change. Innovation shows up after systems break. With that, that is your Hindsight 2020 to 17 years ago. March 9th proved that market bottoms aren't moments of clarity, they're moments of courage. So are you courageous? Let's see where we go next. Back over to you.
$1.5 billion shares on the close for a huge reversal here on Wall Street today. The S&P 500 finishing up 0.8%, and the Dow up 0.5% as well. We will get quarterly results tomorrow morning from Kohl's, and this time tomorrow after the bell, the latest from Oracle we talked about earlier in the show. 10 a.m. February existing home sales, and so much more on a jam-packed edition of Taking Stock tomorrow, Tuesday, here on Wall Street. You do not want to miss. Special thanks to everyone here in celebration of International Women's Day. Thank you for watching today's edition of Taking Stock. We'll see you again tomorrow. Woo! That was good. That was good.